You want to go ahead and answer?
I got a sore throat today. Go ahead.
Well, the reason we have to have hyperinflation is because inflation is not rising prices. Inflation is an increase in the money supply. And the prices rise after that. Now, of course, they've been producing a tremendous amount of money, just churning money out. The reason we have not seen the inflation yet is because, of course, they've just destroyed the value of so much wealth. Actually, they estimate that worldwide they've destroyed about $60 trillion here since this whole house of cards came tumbling down. So even though they've turned out a lot of money, why we haven't seen the inflationary results yet. But down the line, unless they can get rid of all of this money and do it very quickly, why that increase in the money will lead to higher prices. We're already seeing the price of oil going up a little bit, but right now, of course, we're not seeing hyperinflation, but I believe it's just a matter of time. And whether it'll be 3 months, 6 months, 2 or 3 years, short of, divine intervention, I think we're going to see hyperinflation in this country, and that will destroy the value of everything people have had, and it's going to create terrible devastation and really impoverish so many of our people. But you cannot just indiscriminately increase the money supply, which is what we're doing. I mean, when you're talking over the next 10 years of having almost a $10 trillion deficit on top of the deficit we have now, remember it took 200 years from 1789 until 1980 to create a federal deficit of $1 trillion. Now we are going to have a $2 trillion deficit probably in 1 year. So we've just started on this cycle, and I don't see anything that's going to end it other than a total collapse and devastation. It's not a very good message, but unfortunately, until the American people understand they've been defrauded, there is a ruling elite who have no loyalty to America but to this internationalist dream. Until they understand that, nothing is going to change until they're willing to get involved and help us educate the remainder of the people. I think people are going to wake up. I just hope it's not going to be far too late. Anything else, L.A., before we let you go?
For the money to inflate, it has to be out there in circulation, right?
Right. They have to create new money, and this is what they're in the process of doing. They call it monetization.
Yeah. Okay.
And Bob, if you disagree with me, don't be afraid to speak up. I know you're not.
I always pay attention to my elders.
All right. Okay, anything else?
Thank you very much. No,
God bless. Bye-bye. And so I think we're living in very, very perilous times, and I think people are going to have to protect themselves and get out of debt and then start, getting out of dollars, because, of course, the dollar will be destroyed if we do go into this hyperinflationary cycle. And I'm not a financial advisor. I don't purport to be, but I am a minor historian, and I've been watching very closely what our State Department and Henry Kissinger have done in Zimbabwe, and I think it foreshadows what they're going to be doing here in America. I just hope and pray I'm wrong. Well, Bob, what are some of the other major issues you'd like to talk about today?
Well, I think the economic situation in Europe is bad. Probably on the same plane that it is in the United States, but Europe is an exporting group. We don't export as much as they do. And so at the moment, we may be just a little bit better off. Their banks are buried as well. And Eastern Europe is in serious trouble, and Western Europe says, we're not going to come up with the money to do all that stuff and fix that up. And of course they have to, otherwise the system will come down. But England is really the basket case along with Ireland. And the major bank in Ireland's gone under, and several banks have been nationalized in England. And in England they began monetizing last week, and they will continue to do so. Unemployment's going crazy again, and so I see that Europe's problems are going to be every bit as great overall as America's problems. So I I don't know that the dollar might not be able to go too deep against other currencies. Certainly, you can go back to 71.16 on the USDX from where it's at right now pretty easily. But the barometer you have to look at, and the thing that's so very, very important is I lost my train of thought. I was thinking of something else. Is gold. Gold and its relationship to other currencies. For 5 years now, gold has appreciated against every currency in the world to varying degrees. And the USDX may be important at this point in time, but the price of gold versus the major currencies is really where it's at. And I think there are a small group of people throughout the world, maybe less than 5%, are buying gold and silver by both hands. I mean, every person I talk to, and we have subscribers all over the world, say in Frankfurt, I can't find anybody with any coins. Mexico City, I can't find anybody with any coins. In Uruguay, that's a banking center. There's no coins. So somebody got to be buying them.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, and I think that people have to understand that some people throughout the world are beginning to understand what's going on. They're destroying the value of our paper currency, and you need to study and understand our monetary system, because those who understand will survive, and I fear that those who don't, well, many of them, of course, will simply become impoverished. Well, Bob, you've got 3 minutes to wrap up the program.
Well, we're having a rally in the market. It's gone from approximately 6,600, and today it added 500 points and some of the worst economic news in history. It closed at 7,776 on the Dow, and I think that rally should be close to over, within 200 points, which we predicted. It could rally on a dead cat bounce up from 66 to 78 or 8,000. And this time when it turns down, it'll go right through 66 like it wasn't there. And this was the summer rally as I see it. And so the next step is downward. Next step in gold is upward. As long as you have this tremendous physical offtake, the futures prices can't continue to non-perform the way that they are. And sooner or later it's going to catch up. I noticed gold today trading visibly in the access market, down 1780 on the day the last time I saw it in access. Several of the better quality stocks are up, and in gold and silver, and the HUI closed up 2.29 in the day. So what the gold shares are telling you is that we don't believe this. We think gold's going higher, and they've done that again recently. Historically, they've done that, and I think we're looking forward to much higher prices. And Union Bank Suisse is talking $2,500 gold. Citigroup and Morgan have talked about $2,000 or more for gold. So I think the future for gold is very strong and a very bright one.
What about the future for silver? What do you think will happen there?
Well, it'll go along with it as long as we're having inflation. And the same with commodities in general. But I think that there's going to be a catch-up coming here. And the minute inflation stops for real, and that'll be down the line here a year or two, then you only want silver for bartering purposes.
All right, fine. Well, I guess there's been Bob Chapman, the International Forecaster, and of course we'll be interviewing Bob again this evening on our evening program. Bob, I want to thank you so very much for being with us, and look forward to talking to you a little later.
Okay, and thank you, Stan. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That sounds like what you've been saying all along, doesn't it?
certainly does, and he's got the gist of the thing, that's for sure. I just wish more people knew what we know and what we talk about on the program, and that's why you have to look into the history of the Federal Reserve to really understand the key to what they're doing in America.
I think people have to understand that the amount of actual money, I mean, if you want to say greenbacks in circulation is perhaps $850 billion. Well, they certainly, you superimpose upon all that all the credit that they create, and then all the value in the stock market and the inflated value of homes. I mean, almost $60 billion of